Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. If for those of you that don't know, my name is Liv and I'm glad you're wanting to spend some time with me. By the title of this video, we're just going to be talking about my first pregnancy, labor and delivery, all of that. Because I do feel like it's important. I just kind of want to share my story, my experience, because it was a little bit traumatic for me. It's a lot. Pregnancy, giving birth, all that is a lot. So why not, let's talk about it. And this is a way for you to also get to know me better and me also to get to know you guys. So my first pregnancy. I found out I was pregnant at 6 weeks. And I took a home pregnancy test. And then I immediately called my OBGYN and scheduled a follow-up appointment. Needless to say, me and my husband, we were very excited about the news. This was my first pregnancy. Never been pregnant before. Of course, my first child, same for him. So we were excited. So I make the appointment. I go to the appointment, talk to the doctor. They took another test. It confirmed that I was pregnant. And then next they said, okay, well, let's go ahead and do an ultrasound. So while we're doing the ultrasound, my husband came to the appointment with me. The ultrasound tech, she is looking, at the sac and everything. And then she goes, oh, there's no baby. And we're like, there's no baby? What, mean, girl, babe? What you talking about? Okay, I'm pregnant. And she's like, oh, I just see the sac. There's no baby. And I'm like, well, what does this mean? Then she says, well, sometimes a baby never forms. So, yeah. And girl, I'm like looking at her like, girl, what? What do you mean a baby never forms? This is mind-blowing. Okay, so anyway, the doctor comes in and the doctor kind of has this look on her face like, oh, like, you know what, we're gonna schedule you another appointment in 2 weeks. We're gonna have you come back in and we're gonna do another ultrasound then. So I'm like, I have to wait 2 weeks? Pretty much, yes. When I tell you that 2 weeks was the longest 2 weeks of my life, like honestly, I was an emotional wreck. I was very upset, sad, and kind of wanting to know what's going on with my body and what's going on with this pregnancy. So anyway, 2 weeks finally came. We went back and then she saw the little baby growing, okay? And that eased my fears, whew, okay? Now, what I failed to mention is at my first ultrasound appointment, aside from them telling me they didn't see a baby, they did find grapefruit size cysts on my ovaries, okay? And they were kind of concerned because with the size of them, they wanted to know, why wasn't I in pain? Like, why wasn't I not why didn't I know about these before? And I never knew about them, never. I mean, I regularly went to my OBGYN appointments, got my checkups. I was never notified of a cyst or there was any inclination that something was not right. So, okay. So now that we have the baby, now we have to deal with the cyst. So that immediately put me into high risk. So they scheduled me an appointment with the high risk doctor, which I love. And I can't remember her name right now, but that was my next appointment. So I got to the high risk doctor appointment and she's just like, wow, these are really large and we need to find out if they're cancerous or not. And we need to find out if we can remove them while you're pregnant or if we have to wait. Because of the size of them, she was concerned. So, boom. I then had to go to a cancer specialist. Okay, so that was my next appointment that I had to make. All of these have co-pays, all of these, cost money. So I go to the cancer specialist. He does an examination of it. He got all my paperwork from my OBGYN, and he was basically like, they're not cancerous, which is a good thing. However, due to my torso, I'm short, I'm like 5'1", because my torso is short, he would be unable to operate on me while I was pregnant and not cause damage to the baby, okay? So of course, I was like, well, yeah, no. I do not want to operate, and we'll just have to deal with it as it comes. Now, he did say that if for any reason and fluid gets out, that fluid is toxic, and that can also be harmful. It could cause the pregnancy to terminate, unfortunately. So again, I left that appointment very, very heartbroken, praying that this never explode. They never, do anything that could be harmful to the baby. So, I mean, I was very, very afraid that something may happen. Okay, so that was at about 10 weeks. Then at about 12 weeks, we go to the doctor for another appointment. They do an ultrasound. They tell me that there is something wrong with the baby's heart. Okay, the baby they feel like a heart defect, and I need to get it checked out. So we made an appointment with the heart specialist and went there. I go to this appointment, and anyway, I go to this appointment, and they do a scan, an intensive scan on the baby. I mean, the heart of the baby. I mean, we got to see it really, really up close and everything. And they were like, I'm not sure why you're even here at this appointment. There's nothing wrong. We don't see anything wrong with the heart. So I was like confused. I'm like, excuse me, my OBGYN said that this was very important. Something's wrong with the heart. I need to get it checked out right away. And you're telling me that there's nothing wrong? And they're pretty much like, yes. But you know what? Let's schedule you a follow-up appointment. Somebody's playing with me. Like, what is going on? This is my first pregnancy, my first child, and all you guys are doing is scaring the crap out of me. Scaring the crap out of me. I said no. I do not need a follow-up appointment. I won't be making one. Can you send your notes over to my OBGYN, and then I'm going to make an appointment with them and try to figure out what's going on. So that's exactly what they did. I went back to my OBGYN, and then they were like, no, based on what we can see, it looks like there's something wrong with the heart. I'm like, well, you got the notes, there's nothing wrong with the heart. Okay. So now, mind you, I like the doctors there. Now, it was a practice with multiple doctors. I would still have to go, so I had my regular OBGYN appointment, and then I had my high risk appointment, and then all these other appointments that I had to schedule on top of that. So I saw 2 doctors regularly. My regular visit, and then my high risk visit. My high risk doctor I love. She was the same every time. However, my regular visits, they changed between 2 to 3 doctors at a time. So yeah. Fast forward to about 14 weeks pregnant. I wake up in the middle of the night with excruciating pain. Okay, I mean, I couldn't find comfort at laying down, sitting up. I was just in pain, hurting. Of course, I went to see if there was any bleeding. There was none, thank God. But the pain was it was awful. And of course, I thought one of the cysts had erupted. So we immediately go to the emergency room. My husband wakes up, we get there. They told me that I was dehydrated and gave me some saline. They pretty much say, follow up with your OBGYN. We don't see anything wrong. The cysts, nope, they did not erupt. Just follow up with your doctor. So I said, okay. Whew. Went home, I felt better, the pain was gone, and I was like, okay. So I follow up with the OBGYN, and they're basically like, yeah, we're not sure why you had that pain, but if you do have it again, yes, make sure that you do either check in with us or go to a hospital. Okay? At 23 3 weeks, I started to have kind of like a cold. And then all of a sudden, that excruciating pain came back. And this time, it was worse than the first time. It was so excruciating that I ended up missing a whole week of work. I could barely walk. I had to hold on to the wall in order to get up and walk to the bathroom. And then where I laid in bed all day long. That was it. Laid in bed, and I would sweat. I would have cold sweats. I would wake up and my sheets would be completely soaked. Okay, so I was starting to get scared, and I'm like, okay, this is not normal. This is not normal. Something is wrong. I need to go. Let's go. Schedule an appointment. So, and I went through days of this, which I probably shouldn't have. Appointment with the doctor. I was 1.5 centimeters dilated. They thought the baby was coming, pretty much. My doctor was like, you need to go to the hospital immediately. Straight to the hospital. I was admitted right away, and I lived at that hospital for the next 4 weeks. Thought that I was in preterm labor, and I had to be on bed rest. I couldn't move. I actually had to be in the most uncomfortable position, which is in the hospital bed. My head had to be tilted down with my legs up. My legs had to be higher than my head. So all this is going on. Emotionally, I had good and bad days. I leaned on my faith. I prayed a lot. Got comfort from prayer that this baby, she's not coming. So a series of things happened. So while I was in the hospital for 4 weeks, which I hated because at that point I lived in Florida. I missed seeing the sun. I mean, I was in a hospital room. I missed seeing the sun. I missed seeing people. I mean, my family, of course, came and visit me every day. My mom was there. My mom's a retired teacher, so she came and visited me every day. My husband ended up sleeping at the hospital every single night. This was back in 2018, so it was pre-COVID, and thankfully so, because that would have been another added stress. I had to get the cerclage. That is when they basically stitch you up to ensure that the baby stays in. I did not need the cerclage. I did not think the baby would come. Again, just due to how I was feeling, my vibes, connecting with myself and my child, and of course God. I just did not feel it. And so when she says that, she, I really didn't need the stitch, but again, she just did it anyway. Okay, I had to take progesterone, and they were pills. They were these were larger pills that I had to insert into my vagina, and it kind of dissolved. I had to take a series of steroids shots. This was to help baby's lungs develop much faster in case she did come. Her chances of surviving would be at a much higher rate because her lungs were more developed. Every 4 hours, I had to be seen by either a nurse or a doctor. Every 4 hours. So if I was sleeping, they were coming into the room, checking my vitals, checking the heartbeat, and leaving every 4 hours. So my stay in the hospital I was ready to go home. So anyway, after the cerclage, I asked my doctor if I could just be, I was really missing being outside, and I understand the severity of my case, and of course I don't want to do anything to hurt the baby or me, but would it be okay if I got a wheelchair ride outside, around the hospital and outside possibly? And she okayed it. I think my mom pushed me around the hospital, and I got to go outside, and I mean, that was like the highlight. That was the highlight of my time, being there. Hospital. Initially, when I got there, you're not leaving, you're staying here until you give birth. And I'm like, honey, that's 15 weeks away. What you mean I'm staying here until I give birth? 15 weeks? I got to prepare my home and my house for my child. What? Yes. So initially, that's what I thought was gonna happen. So anyway, this wheelchair ride, I was ecstatic on cloud nine. Okay, and we get back to the room, and I would say an hour or two later, I started having pelvic pain. Okay, it was excruciating, and I immediately regret going on the wheelchair ride. And I started panicking, started getting hard on myself and down on myself. Only thing that helped would be a heating pad on it. I would have to put it kind of on my lower back. That was the only thing that would bring comfort. And I remember my brother bought me this heating pad, and it was from Amazon. He ordered it and sent. He lived in another state, got it sent to me, and that heating pad, I feel like, made things so much easier. And I was like, you know, I could do this. I could do this. I tried vlogging this whole experience. I have about 3 videos of it, but because it was such a vulnerable time for me, it was such an emotional time. Every day, you know, I didn't know what news to expect. I just couldn't post it. Some of them are actually uploaded, they're on private, but I just could not post it because it was happening in real time, and my emotions were literally all over the place. So after the pain from the pelvic rest, and I was honest with my doctor, I said, yes, I did have pain. I could no longer sitting up like that. No. Walking around the house, walking around your room is also a big no-no. I remember my high-risk doctor caught me twice getting up to go to the bathroom, and then it was like she was like, "What are you doing? You know, are you walking around your room all day?" And I'm like, "No, I'm in bed 95% of my day." And then she was like, "You know, if you continue to walk around, we're going to put a bedpan there and put a catheter. Also, we're going to give you a catheter, and you're not going to be able to even go to the bathroom." Some women, they told me, are not even to go to the bathroom on their own. So that scared me because I felt like I was already in prison. I felt that coming from being so independent and always on the go, now to having to sit still, be silent, be still, was very, very hard for me. It was very hard, mentally, emotionally. It was just hard. And thankfully, I did have the support of my husband and my family, because if I did not have them, whew, that would have been rough. So after we said no wheelchair rides, thankfully, I only lived 10 minutes away from the hospital. And this is why my stay only turned into 4 weeks. Because as the weeks were going on that I was in the hospital and everything was going good, my vitals, everything was where it was supposed to be, they allowed me. I kept asking, am I able to go home? When am I able to go home? When? My doctor said, once you made it past 26 weeks, we will allow you to go home. So I went home at about 27, 28 weeks. She wanted to make sure I hit the 26-week mark. I forget kind of why we went over that, but she wanted me to make that mark. I did. I surpassed it, and then a week later, I ended up going home. So I went home at about 27, 28 weeks. And she said, you are not allowed to do anything. You are on complete bed rest. You still have to treat yourself as if you're in the hospital. So needless to say, I was released from the hospital. The bad thing was I did live on the third floor of my apartment complex. I would only leave the house when I had appointments. Other than that, my husband had to do the grocery shopping. My mom came in and stayed with us during this process. helped with the cooking, the cleaning. My husband is a chef, so he would be doing the cooking, a lot of the cooking as well, a lot of the cleaning. I pretty much stayed in bed all day long, watched TV, tried to read books, but it was just so hard to focus. I could not focus. This is when my anxiety, so I always had issues with anxiety, but it was on the milder side. This is when my anxiety skyrocketed, and I'm still having the effects of it to this day. My anxiety is at an all-time high at this present moment, and I am actually trying to cope. Life with anxiety, it's hard. It's super, super hard. That's going to be another video for another day, though. Okay. So before I left the hospital, we went through my birth plan. I would have to have a C-section. The reason being is they would deliver the baby, and then immediately I will go into surgery to have the cyst removed. Okay, so at 36 weeks, I had my C-section scheduled and my surgery scheduled right after as well. Okay, so thankfully, I carried my child until 36 weeks. I was so thankful, just thankful that my body was able to do what it's supposed to do, which is harbor, nurture my unborn child and give her what she needs until it's time to make her debut. And thankfully it did. We did the C-section. They removed the cysts. Once I had my C-section at about 8. She was born at 8:31. I did not get to see her until 5 or 6 p.m. that day. She immediately had to go to the nursery where my husband and my in-laws and my mom and everybody, we did get to see her. I was in surgery. Initially, I did not have to be on any anesthesia to get the cyst removed. However, I was feeling a lot of pressure, and I kind of was yelling out on the operating table, and they were like, knock her out, knock her out. And within 2 seconds after the mask being on my face, I was knocked out. I woke up. They were trying to bring me to. Everything was blurry. I remember waking up and seeing blur. My husband, like the shape of him, but that was it. I remember his shirt that he was wearing, like that was it. And then I immediately threw up. That was me waking up. I immediately threw up, and I had to stay in this, I guess it's the recovery room, an hour or so to be watched, or maybe it was 2 hours to be watched and making sure that everything was okay, and then they wheeled me to my room. Okay, but at this point I'm like, where's my baby? I want to see my baby. I want to see my baby girl. Begging and pleading, calling around, I finally got to lay eyes on my sweet baby. And maybe I will insert some pictures here so you can see and experience that moment with me. But that was the joyous moment of my life. Of course, I was in a lot of pain. Later told me that the left side of my ovary was damaged. Trying to remove the cyst off it, because the cyst kind of grew around the ovary, and it had pushed the ovary. It was a lot further than they expected it to be, and due to the fact they did damage it trying to remove the cysts, but the cysts were removed, thankfully, and I haven't had any issues with that to this date. So thankfully for that. And my baby girl is now 3, healthy, nothing wrong with her. She is excelling and doing great. I had thoughts that I would not. After they told me my ovary was damaged and everything that kind of happened, I thought I would have issues getting pregnant again. But I did not. But that's going to be for another video. So yes, that is basically my pregnancy and labor and delivery story for my firstborn. Again, she is 3 going on 4. She'll be 4 this October. And I am just joyful to have Even though that was the toughest period in my life, I am joyful to have experienced pregnancy and motherhood. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love to talk, so hopefully I didn't talk your ear off. But if you like this video, gives it a thumbs up, and then don't forget to comment if you have experienced anything like this or know someone who has. Leave a comment down below. I would love to hear back from you guys. And yeah, I'm gonna be filming right after this. I'm filming my second pregnancy. I have 2 children. I'm gonna film that video, my second pregnancy and labor and delivery story, so stay tuned for that. All right guys, thanks so much for watching.